Why don't you give me a sign? Like the sea that leaves a trail along that shore. It's not your problem, it's mine. Everybody thinks that I'm okay. Sometimes I think I am too. I'm on the outside looking in. I'm waiting for the shockwaves to begin. Oh, won't you let me hold you for one time? Just a rainy day in a London cafe, a London cafe. So give me one last serenade. Say to me, or swear at me till the night turns into day. And it was a shame when daylight faded, because we didn't notice at all.
Please behave yourself.
Amira's a designer.
I hope you're trained MT making.
Claris! Every blessed day.
I have ideas.
How many women modelers do you see?
Hello, I'm Sophia Jessica, and welcome to the Fan Carpet.
I'd heard about Claris Cliff. My family had a couple of her pieces, so I knew her work, but I didn't know anything about her. So getting the script and doing some more research into her life and what she was able to achieve, coming from not only being a woman, but a working class woman, I was just blown away by it, and I thought it was a story that just really needed to be told.
I think it's shocking what she achieved and how difficult it must have been to break through in that time, and we take so much for granted, and it's a really important story to tell because it's the beginning of the freedom of women, you know.
Her story matters so much because it's so relevant today, and although this is a period piece, it doesn't feel period. It's a modern story. So it's a story of a working class girl who came from nothing and took on the Art Deco world, and she had the courage to face down all her obstacles, which she did perfectly, and she did it with humour as well, because she had a lightness of touch to deflect everything that came her way. So I really admire her.
I think Claris' story resonates to today because we all went through COVID together. We all had that moment of like, am I doing what I love? Do I want to carry on doing this? Do I want to change jobs? What do I want to do? And I think this story is kind of like almost a sign to say, like, do what you love, follow your passion and your dreams, and kind of, if you're told no and, you feel like giving up, like Claris, she pushed through and kind of like broke all the boundaries, which was amazing. And, she was such like a defining woman of her era. So it's really impressive, yeah.
Well, I knew about Claris Cliff, I knew her work, and I'd assumed that she was sort of somebody from the Bloomsbury set or the William Morris School or something like that. But when the film came, I realized that she'd grown up from a real working class background, she'd grown up in a poverty-stricken background. So to have that level of expertise and that, that gumption to push herself through into a world, a male-dominated world, but also, a middle-class, upper-class world, she really punched through many, many glass ceilings, which should have been, at that time, would have been closed to her. So I was full of admiration for her, and I thought it was a story to be told, and I wanted to be part of it.
Sadly, we're not at the stage where we can't talk about that yet. I mean, we can't oversee the fact that this is a female-led film and a film that probably wouldn't have been made 5 years ago even.
I don't know if that's true. I mean, because I compare it a lot to An Angel at My Table, and that's, and I was thinking about, do people want to see a film about a girl potter, and, how are we going to sell that, like now? But actually, I remember, 30 years ago when we made An Angel at My Table, like, people are so keen to see stories about artists, about female artists, and people who strive and succeed despite their circumstances. And so there's many similarities. So I think I think it's a long, slow process, but we're building and we're making more and more of these stories, and people are keen to see them.
I think it's interesting because I don't think any woman wants to be just classified as the woman. I think we want to be the best at what we do. I want to be the best director that I can be, and I don't want to speak for Claire, but I'm sure Claire wants to be the best writer she can be. And sometimes it can feel a little tokenistic, being the label of the woman. But, the other side of it is that it is a time at this time to celebrate women and their unique voices, their perspective and point of view. So, I think hopefully it's more than just rhetoric. Hopefully there is a real push to show women's stories and to bring them to the screen, and to have cultural diversity in that as well. So I think it's a moment we're experiencing, but hopefully it's not just a limited tokenistic moment. Let's hope that it actually is abiding and that it really has a depth of commitment that really will push through and be manifest in many, many ways and in all aspects of the arts and beyond.
Yeah, and I think to tell a female story is sometimes to tell the story of a rebel, because women were on the outside trying to battle and get in. So everyone loves a rebel story, don't they? So a female story is that. So I think we're on a roll with female stories. I mean, one day I would like to just be a writer, not a female writer, or a director, not a female director. But I think right now we still have to push a little bit. But I think the answer's coming soon.
Yeah, so many people compare projects saying they're period dramas, but I think, comparing the roles that I've done, the recent one came from a lot of privilege and a lot of, it's a completely different time as well. I think it's interesting when people box period dramas into one, because there was so many years between these, but yeah, totally different world, different
and ambitions, and
different
desires.
ambitions. Yeah, completely.
There's many, many special things about Phoebe. I think she's not only a brilliant actress and a wonderful person. She grew up in Manchester, so I think she really understands a working class and she's not posh. There's something very grounded and authentic about her. And Claris is a working class girl who came from anonymity and made her way into being the first female art director and the first woman ever to basically run her own factory. So Phoebe, really need to be able to embody those things. And she's also incredibly deft at sculpting and modelling and drawing and all the other kind of components that this character required, which who would have known? Maybe Phoebe's got a career as an artist on the side. But I think it was a bit of both. It was personality, being able to disappear into that character, and also being able to do everything that the role required with 100% commitment.
Yeah, it's always hard to quantify why someone is, that goes over to the public's conscious, but she's just so rooted in a real sensitivity to character, I think. I think, Clarice is very different to the character she plays in Bridgerton. You couldn't get more different, really, and she pulls it off massively well. And I think, it's about she gets under the skin of her characters. In this, I was so impressed with her physicality, with her research, with, her real sort of commitment to storytelling. And, sometimes you don't get that. She's a real team player, and I love that. She's a real company player. But I was knocked out by her performance.
Oh, Phoebe was lovely. It was so nice, and we had a lot of fun filming the little sister scenes together, and we had such a laugh. It was a really lovely experience, and it was a female-led production, so there was so many strong women, and I was just learning so much every day, so it was amazing.
Fantastic working with Phoebe. I mean, I think both of us saw Bridgerton as almost the polar opposite. We wanted something very real, very authentic, something she could disappear into and be a complete counterpoint to what Bridgerton was. And yeah, we just had so much fun working together, creating that character, and she just worked so hard to, not only embody the character, but there's also a lot of props, a lot of work that she had to do by hand to understand drawing and modelling and sculpting, and she just threw herself into it. She was brilliant.
Yeah, and also getting the accent right. So she's from Manchester, isn't she? So she had to get the very close geographically, but very distant linguistically accent right, which I think she nailed beautifully. I mean, she's done such a lovely job. And as you say, she's disappeared into the role. She is Claris Cliff. When you write something, it's really hard to give it away. And it's your baby, and like she took it on and she just flew with it. I'm so thrilled with it. She is Claris Cliff.
Claris came from a really working class background, so she was quite poor. And her pieces were really out there at the time. Like the Victorian pieces were all very much like Victorian Edwardian, like roses, nice roses on a vase, and her pieces were loud and like garish and kind of reds and oranges and bright blues, and people just thought it was cheap and they didn't really understand it. But she had such a vision, and she really did follow that through to the end. And she was so successful because of it, because of her like drive as well, that she knew her pieces were good. So it's really impressive, yeah.
Well, our film's called The Colour Room, and it's a celebration of Claris Cliff and her journey to becoming the first art director and the first woman really to kind of revolutionise the workplace at that time in the potteries in the 1920s.
Yeah, I'm a woman from the Midlands, so I grew up in that background, and her story made no sense to me whatsoever. How could a woman from this background, a working class woman who had no prospects, go to take on the Art Deco world, go to get what she wants, to not stop, have no barrier was a closed door to her. How did she do that? And she did it not by just pushing her way, not aggressively. She did it with humour and a light touch, and I think we've got so much to learn from her. Her story's so inspiring, and there were no statues to her. There's no memory of her. There's so few pieces in the museum in Stoke, and I really wanted to get her story out there. More people should know about Claris Cliff.
It's true. And her work at the time was sort of considered cheap and cheerful, and it absorbed a lot of the influences of modernity at that time, and it was designed for the every person's table. Now, of course, it goes for thousands at Sotheby's, and it's become quite posh, but I guess the film's a celebration of her first collection of original bazaar and of her journey to becoming what she became now.
Absolutely, you're right, and you don't have to be high art to be art. You could be low art too. You could have fun. Claris is about fun. That doesn't make you any less of an artist. I think that's a really important thing to get out there too.
Absolutely. Like, who gets to decide what beauty is and who gets to have beauty in their homes? Everyone should have the right to beauty.
Absolutely, yes. And it's a celebration of being able to do whatever you want to do, no matter your background. So you can sit in a factory in Stoke and create the most beautiful Art Deco pieces. It doesn't matter. You're not in the south of France. You can be in Stoke-on-Trent. It doesn't matter where you're from. So in these post-pandemic times where we're all still a bit locked down and we can't travel as much as we want, it doesn't matter, because our imagination will take us wherever we want to do.
100%. I think the film's a celebration of innovation, and that if a door's shut, that you can bust through it. If there's no path to something, it doesn't mean you have to listen to the rules. And I think Claris was very naughty. She felt people were stopping her from doing what she wanted, and she did anything she had to do what she wanted to be. She knew what she wanted and she went for it. And I think that's something that's still difficult for women to do. And I think not just women, but people from different classes or cultural backgrounds. And I think we need to celebrate different voices and different pathways to success. I think it's about broadening that conversation.
Dot's character, I think Dot is kind of like the heart of the story, because Claris and her have such like a close relationship in the film. I just loved as well the contrast. So Claris is so wild and she's so full of drive and passion. I think Dot is quite reserved, and she's like the complete opposite to Claris. Basically, she wants to settle and have a family, and Claris just wants this incredible career, and that she definitely got. And I think, I just loved that relationship that they had. I think that was something that really drew me to it.
So I play a man called Fred Ridgway, and he was Claris joins a factory called Wilkinson's, and he was the head designer of Wilkinson's. He had been a man who developed a way of glazing pottery called oriflamme. It was a way, oriflamme already existed, but he had a different way of doing it. So he was very well respected. And he sees Claris and he just admires her. He's frightened of her because she's so revolutionary. But he really, really he's not a mentor to her or a teacher in any way, because she arrives fully formed. But I think he does give her space in that workshop to do her own creations.
I think it's more about the story, isn't it? It's about the narrative, and Claris's arc is so amazing, and everyone knows her pieces, everyone knows about her work. She's so worldwide known. So I think, that should really speak for itself, and I think it will draw people towards the film, definitely. Yeah, no, it was done so beautifully, and Claire Hughes and Denson Baker, the cinematographer used these lights throughout the film, and you'll notice it kind of fades, and it's just so beautiful. Like, it just looked amazing, stunning on screen, and the costumes as well. Like, although they were working class, like everything was really carefully thought out. So like my character Dot had her own colour palette. She was like more cool tones like blues and stuff, and Claris was quite like autumnal reds and oranges. So it was really lovely to see it all on screen. I think afterwards, Claire, the director, gave me a piece of Claris's work, Claris Cliff original, and I think that was like one moment where I was like, wow, this is really cool. Yeah.
So Show It is a 6-parter for BBC One. It's not a whodunit because we know right from the off who the murderer is, but it's about a sort of community that is devastated by this particular murder, but also by the secrets of the past. And the past really is rooted in the miners' strike and the divisions that happened in that community during that strike in '84, and how they play out right here in our present day, and how that sort of red walls town is sort of Labour have lost those cities and those villages around the north and the Midlands. So it's about that, but it is about a fractured community as well.
In particular with Bridgerton, you mean? Yeah, I mean, it did huge amounts. I loved playing Daphne. I always will, and you know, we just finished the second season, and it's also just a project that's so joyful and was such a great experience. But yeah, I'm very proud and excited to be a part of it.
It's called Midas Man, so it's about Brian Epstein, who discovered the Beatles and Cilla Black. So I play his girlfriend in the 50s, so it's set in the 50s and the 60s, so the Beatles are in it as well, and it's got music in it, and I think it's going to be really cool. You know, coming from Liverpool, I was just so excited when I heard it was a Beatles film. I was like, yes, I'll do it. Like, I was just so, like, excited. I'm just, yeah, I mean, I live, like, really close to where all the Beatles grew up, and I feel such, like, a connection to them, so I suppose there is a bit of pressure, but I hope all the Scouse accents are good, so, yeah.
Thank you for watching The Fan Carpet. Please follow us on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram for more content next time.
Bloody hell.
We will prevail, ladies.
I'm here on the largest of the Balearic Islands, Mallorca, with the turquoise waters of the Mediterranean Sea, beautiful mountainous landscape, the thriving city of Palma, quaint little market towns, a growing number of luxury hotels. It's no surprise that the likes of Audrey Hepburn and Elizabeth Taylor like to holiday here. So come and join me as I take you round Mallorca.
Thank you for watching The Fan Carpet. If you like this video, be sure to click that thumbs up button at the bottom of your screen. And also be sure to subscribe to the Fan Carpet YouTube channels. They're absolutely free and so much fun too. Be sure to check out the official website, thefancarpet.com. Also, you can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram to stay up to date with reviews, competitions, the latest news, and so much more.